Do companies like Google and Twitter and Facebook, how should they deal with these situations?
Well, naturally, it's a very complex subject because it's a slippery slope. On the one hand, you want to prevent incitement to genocide and incitement to violence, and governments around the world have engaged in this, as well as individuals. You take a country like Iran or a terrorist organization like Hamas, and just a few weeks ago, the Deputy Speaker of the Hamas Parliament called for genocide against all Americans and all Jews. What do you do in a case like this? On the one hand, the companies have a duty to uphold freedom of speech and protect the First Amendment in the United States.
Do they have a duty? They're businesses.
They're absolutely businesses, but if they want to make their businesses as good as they can, they have to, and I think they should respect freedom of speech. And I think we've seen a pull towards companies that have a better record on that, and a pushback against companies that don't do that.
Like which?
Well, I think that Google during the Arab Spring has had a generally positive role in upholding freedom of speech. We've seen some initiatives like Google Ideas come out of Google, which have worked with digital activists in a very important way and tried to empower them. Part of what we do at movements.org is try and give tools to digital activists so that they can have their voice heard in the most effective way possible, especially in the West. And there's a very important role for companies, I think, to protect and uphold those freedoms that we hold dear, because what happens in a country like Libya is very important, not just for business interests, but also for human rights. So when you have a video put out and diplomats die because of it, it's absolutely outrageous. And companies like Google, Facebook, and YouTube have a very important role in upholding those freedoms.
But technology is a tool. It's a tool that does a lot of good. It does a lot of evil, potentially, but the way tools are used isn't really up to companies. It's up to users, isn't it? I mean, on Twitter, the Follow Friday hashtag was done by users. YouTube didn't want to broadcast this type of video. They just wanted to broadcast videos. So isn't it the responsibility of users, and if they use that in a nefarious way, up to governments to help police that?
In a sense, yes. As a private company, YouTube can block what it wants. It has policies right now blocking violence. It has policies blocking hate speech and incitement. I think generally those are smart measures, because you don't necessarily want to incite masses, especially in volatile areas like the Middle East, towards incitement to genocide. But on the other hand, criticism and blasphemy are not typically things that companies should be in the business of stopping. That's a matter and a dispute between an individual and a government. And the U.S. government has taken actions in the past, and the international courts, in fact, have taken actions in the past to prevent and limit incitement to genocide in particular.
So it's a careful balance of responsibility as a business and responsibility to the people using it. David, we appreciate your time. David Keyes, Executive Director of Advancing Human Rights.